So next, let's go ahead and set our inputs and our names and the button layouts and all that kind of thing. So we're going to select Panel on the left-hand side, and on the bottom, we're going to select XPT or Crosspoint Assign. First thing we want to do is want to name all the inputs. Now, those are going to be the BNCs on the back of the chassis. So we're going to hit Source Name and Source Color. So up here, what you're seeing here is every one of the connectors. So if I hit the top button here with my finger, you're going to see source number 1. That literally means BNC input number 1 into the switcher. In1 is fine, but I kind of like a little more descriptive source name. So I'm going to select source name, and I happen to know this is an XDCAM deck, so I'm going to type XDCM1. Now on the panel displays, you're going to get 4 characters per row. So in this case, I'm going to see XDCM on the first row, and immediately 1 will carriage return to the next row. So when I hit enter, see what happens down here? It's now gone to XDCAM1. Now I need to label number 2, 3, and 4 since I have 4 XDCAM machines. I could go up there and select each one and name them separately, but I want to show you a little trick. Now I'm going to select the first one here, and I'm going to use my mouse. Now I'm using the third-party touchscreen, so I'm using a mouse with this. The Sony ICP6511 dedicated menu has knobs built into the system. So over here I'm going to use my scroll knob when I position over num, and I'm going to highlight all 4 of these. I'm going to hit source name again, and I'm going to erase number 1 and put it back in just to kind of make sure it knows that I'm putting a 1 in. I'm going to hit enter, and look what it did. It automatically incremented the number at the end of the name of the source for me. So instead of having to do this 4 times, I just had to do it once. Now the next thing I'm going to do here, so I'm going to come over here, and I happen to have a VDCP disc player hooked up to input 5 and 6 for video and key. So I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to call this DDR, and I'm going to do another little trick I'll show you here. I'm going to hit Shift and hit the pipe symbol. That is the little symbol right here above the backslash. And then I'm going to put V. Now what the pipe symbol does is notice that DDR only has 3 characters, whereas XDCAM had 4. The pipe symbol tells it to do a premature carriage return and line feed and then center it. So when I hit enter, look what it did to the label. I've now got DDR, V, and everything is nice and centered in there. And I'm going to come over here and do the same thing and type DDR, Shift, pipe, key. That way I know my video and key, what sources are coming on, and notice here that it didn't put it on here. That's because I blanked this out because I don't need to see the key signal. Now that I've got all my sources named, let's talk about colors. Down here, the source color, I have 3 what are called user colors, and I can set what those are. And I can set any one of those 3 to these. So over here I've got my DDR set to color 2. If I come over to the video and hit color 1, the color changes on the button. You can see it right here. Now I can change what these colors are. So if I come over here to user color 2, you can see that this color of blue, if I change it to this purple and hit execute, then everything that was that color is now going to be this purple color. I kind of like the light blue, so I'm going to put it back. But you can change any of these 3 colors to any of the buttons to kind of create groupings like you kind of see here. I've got my XDCAMs as one color, I've got my DDR as another color, and so on. So let's go back up to this menu here. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to set my video and key pairs. Now that's not really important for the XDCAM machines because they're just playback devices, but it's very important for my disc recorder. So I'm going to come over here, go back to the panel home menu, and I'm going to go over here and select Main Video Key Pair Assign. Now you see here, it looks kind of familiar. Here's black, XDCAM 1, 2, 3, 4, and you see here on video key pair number 6, right here, we've got the DDR video, which is from source number 5, and DDR video is source number 5 as its key. Well, that's not going to work for us. I need to have source number 6 as the key. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here on this side, select input 6. Notice how the arrow goes from the right to the left. So I'm going to take something from this side over here and put it over to the left. I'm going to go over here and assign not video and key, but just key, and I'm going to hit set. Now what's happening is if you look at video key pair 6 now, it tells you that source number 5, which is my DDR video, is paired with source number 6, which is the DDR key signal. So now when I go into the keying system, which we'll cover a little later, and I try to key my DDR, I can set up an automatic or auto select key, and I don't have to type in all the different source inputs to do it. Let me back up and show you something really quick. Back up here, you see on this area here, it says my table is called main. Now, I'm not going to go into a whole long discussion about this right now, but there are actually 15 different cross-point mapping tables that you can use on the switcher. We're going to keep this simple, and the way it comes from the factory is we're using what's called the main table. That means whatever I change in this main video key pair assign area is automatically put on the button. Now, by using a different table, I can have different MEs have different cross-point mappings. But that's a little advanced for right now. We're going to stick to the default, which is main. So now I have one more important thing to do. We need to make sure that ME1 shows up on a button. Because if it doesn't, there's no way for me to take ME1 on Program Preset. Now, I like to have ME1 right here, right next to the Shift button. Now, there's a possibility that your switcher already has that there, but we're going to pretend like it doesn't and show you how to set it. So I can actually scroll down here and find, I want to replace color background 2 with this. And I'm going to scroll on the right-hand side all the way down to here. And I'm going to look and find ME1 Out 1. Now, ME1 Out 1 means ME1 program, since there are 4 separate outputs for each ME. Number 1 is program, just remember that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Assign Video and Key. So in this case, I'm going to hit both these buttons, and I'm going to hit Set. Now, if we look down here, ME1 Out 1 is now on this button, so I can take ME1 on the switcher now. So that's the basics of inputs. We've named all the sources and moved them on all the buttons in my demo system, and now hopefully you've got a better understanding of how to name your own sources and move them around the panel anywhere you want.